31 key aspects about Saint Joseph of Nazareth, the father of Jesus. How was his death? Joseph of Nazareth, as a fundamental part of the Holy Family and a central figure in Christianity, as the legal father of Jesus, is surprised by the little information that is found about him in the Scriptures. The Bible does not specify details about his death, and the Christian tradition adopted the belief that he died in the arms of Mary and Jesus, the reason for which he is venerated as the patron of the happy death. In the Eastern Christian Church, it is maintained that, before his commitment to Mary, Joseph had been a widow of a first wife called Salome, as mentioned in the apocryphal Gospel of St. James. In this same text, it is reported that, upon discovering Mary's pregnancy, Joseph submitted her to the bitter water test. To demonstrate his chastity, what references about Joseph appear in the New Testament? What are the accounts of his life in the apocryphal Gospels and other non-canonized texts? What was the bitter water test? And how has his veneration evolved from his first devotions in the Old World to America? Come with us to discover these and other questions about the life of Saint Joseph from the ancient texts available and the best-known interpretations. Let's begin. Number 1. His figure is little mentioned in the Scriptures. In the oldest Christian writings, such as the epistles of the Apostle Paul, the mother of Jesus is mentioned, although without calling it by its name, and there is no mention of Joseph, not even indirectly. Even in the Gospel of Mark, which is believed to be the first to be written, about 20 years after the letters of Paul, Joseph is not mentioned either. It is not until the Gospels of Matthew and Luke, dated between the 80s and 90s of the Common Age, that Joseph appears, providing both genealogies of Jesus that link him as a descendant of David. Number 2, according to Matthew, Joseph considered leaving Mary in secret when he learned of her pregnancy. In the Gospel of Matthew, it is narrated that upon learning of Mary's pregnancy, Jose decided to leave discreetly to avoid public humiliation. However, an angel appeared in her dreams and explained to her that the child she was expecting was the work of the Holy Spirit. Matthew 1:8-20 tells it like this. The birth of Jesus Christ was like this. Being married to Mary, his mother, with Jose before uniting, she became pregnant by the work of the Holy Spirit. Jose, her husband, being a just man and not wanting to expose her, wanted to keep it a secret. But while he was thinking about this, an angel of the Lord appeared to him in dreams and said to him, Joseph, son of David, do not fear to receive Mary, because what has been conceived in her is of the Holy Spirit. Number 3, he traveled to Bethlehem with Mary to register in the ordained census. David's house, and the name of the Virgin was Mary. Later in the Gospel of Luke, it is mentioned the census decreed by Caesar Augustus, which required that all the men of the Roman Empire to settle in their places of origin. As Joseph was from Bethlehem, he traveled there with Mary, already in an advanced state of pregnancy. Without finding a place in the Mason, he went to Bethlehem. Maria dio a luz a Jesus en humilde pesiber. Numero 4. He presented Jesus in the temple with Mary. Luke also recounts the presentation of Jesus in the Temple of Jerusalem, 40 days after his birth. A ceremony that was in accordance with the mandate of the law of Moses to redeem the son of a man, and to perform the purification of the mother after the birth. This tradition is celebrated on February 2nd, the day of the presentation. It is not clear in the Gospel if Joseph and Mary offered a lamb, but it is mentioned that they chose to sacrifice a pair of turtles or 2 pigeons, a common alternative among families of less resources. Number 5. He fled to Egypt with Mary and Jesus to protect the child from the slaughter ordered by Herod the Great. According to the biblical account, after presenting Jesus in the temple, to protect the child from the slaughter ordered by Herod the Great, some wise men from the east, known as the wise men, came looking for the newborn king of the Jews. When they found out Herod the Great, king of Judea, feared that this child would pose a threat to his throne and ordered the killing of the children in Bethlehem. In a second dream, an angel warns Joseph of the imminent danger, instructing him to flee to Egypt with his family. Matthew 2:1-4-15 says, waking up, he took the child and his mother by night and went to Egypt, and remained there until the death of Herod. Number 6, he found Jesus in the temple. The episode of the finding of Jesus in the temple is the only story of Jesus' childhood in the Bible that appears in the canonical Gospels. At the age of 12, Jesus accompanied his parents to Jerusalem for the celebration of Easter. On the journey back to Nazareth, Joseph and Mary realized that Jesus was not in the caravan, and worried, they returned to Jerusalem to look for him. They found him in the temple, talking with the doctors of the law, causing astonishment for their knowledge. This is the last moment in which Joseph appears directly in the New Testament. Get up, take the child and his mother, and go to the land of Israel, for those who sought the life of the child have died. The death of Herod, which historians place around the year 4 BC, is a key fact to estimate the chronology of the life of Jesus. Number 8, he settled in Nazareth with his family. After receiving the divine indication to return, Joseph decided to avoid Judea, which was under the rule of Herod of Sarkilau, a son of Herod the Great, known for his cruelty. In his place, he chose to settle in Nazareth, a small town in Galilee. Nazareth was under the government of Herod Antipas, another son of Herod the Great, who would later be a notable figure in the history of Christianity, as he was involved in the crucifixion of Jesus and the beheading of John the Baptist. Number 9. He was responsible for the execution of Jesus. La responsabilidad de José María en la pérdida temporal de Jesus represents the third of the 7 pains of Mary, while the finding in the temple is celebrated as the 5th and last of the joyous mysteries of the Rosary. Number 10. His last mention in the Gospels is when Jesus affirmed to be the bread that descended from heaven. The last reference to Joseph in the Gospels occurs in chapter 6 of John. In this section, John recounts the feeding of the 5,000, where Jesus, being warned by Philip that there was not enough food for the crowd, performs the miracle of the multiplication of bread and fish. Later, Jesus walks on the water and declares himself as the bread of life. John 6, 41-42. The text says the following: Is this not the son of the carpenter? Is not his mother called Mary and his brothers Jacob, Joseph, Simon, and Judas? In the original text, the word used is tekton, which has traditionally been translated as carpenter. However, this Greek term has a broader meaning and can refer to a general craftsman or manufacturer of various objects, whether made of wood, stone, or even metal. In fact, in the 2nd century, Justin Martyr suggested that Jesus, along with Joseph, worked making plows and yokes. Number 12. Perhaps he was a highly qualified craftsman. Some scholars consider that the term tekton can also describe a craftsman of great skill, perhaps running a workshop with several apprentices. In the time of Joseph, Nazareth was a small village of approximately 400 inhabitants, located 130 kilometers from Jerusalem, which limited the local market for specialized products. However, only 6 kilometers away was the city of Sepphoris, which had been an important urban center before being destroyed by the Romans in the year 4 BC. It is possible that Joseph sold his most valuable products in this market, and that both he and Jesus worked the wood, the stone, and the metal to cover the various needs of the community in Nazareth. Number 13. His lineage. Both Matthew and Luke draw the genealogy of Jesus through Joseph, although they present different lines of descent. Matthew follows the line of Solomon, son of David and Bethsabeth, while Luke descends to Jesus through Nathan, another son of David. In Matthew 1:16, it is mentioned that Jacob gave birth to Joseph, husband of Mary, while Luke 3:23 names him as son of Eli. This discrepancy has been interpreted in several ways. One theory is that Matthew draws the legal lineage of Joseph, while Luke 3:23 names him as son of Eli, following the Jewish tradition, while Luke could be describing the biological lineage of Jesus through Mary. St. Augustine of Hippo raised another hypothesis, that Joseph could have been adopted, so the evangelist would have followed different genealogical lines, one through his biological lineage. The apocryphal Gospel of St. James describes him as an older man. In the apocryphal Gospel of St. James, attributed to St. James the Just, who is considered a son of Joseph, it is described that the parents of Mary, Joachim, and Anna were the sons of the same father. They sent the girl to live in the Temple of Jerusalem at the age of 3, where she was cared for and fed by an angel. When Mary reached the age of her first menstruation, the priests considered that she should leave the temple and commission Joseph, who had already been widowed, to take care of her. This text describes Jose as an older man and father of already adult children, who initially did not want to assume the responsibility of a promising teenager. According to the story, Jose left on a business trip, and Maria was called to the temple to help make a curtain. It is said that he was married before to Salome, according to the tradition of the Orthodox Church. The Eastern Orthodox Church maintains that Jose was widowed to a woman named Salome for his engagement with Mary. According to this tradition, the brothers of Jesus mentioned in the Gospels would actually be married. In addition, in the Hebrew culture of the time, it was common for the term brother to be used to designate people from the same community or close group without a direct family relationship. Number 16. According to Epiphanius of Salamis, he was 80 years old when he married Mary. El Obispo Epifanio de Salamina en su obra Panarion. Santiago. Epifanio clarifies that these children were not of Mary. He also maintains that Joseph, being an old man, took Mary as his wife when he was approximately 80 years old. This vision seeks to highlight the protective nature of the relationship between Joseph and Mary, which would explain his paternal role and caste in the Holy Family. Number 17. Celso accused him of having abandoned Mary. Here's what's next. Origenes de Alejandria, a Christian theologian, quotes the philosopher Celso, who in his work on the True Doctrine, accused Jose of having expelled Maria when he found out that she had had a son with a soldier named Pantera. Celsus, 2nd century, was a fierce critic of Christianity and attacked his doctrines from different angles, questioning his philosophy, accusing Christians of ignorance and pointing them out as a threat to the Roman Empire. Origenes refuted Celsus' statements, pointing out that this story was nothing more than a baseless invention. Number 18. The test of the bitter water. In the apocryphal Gospel of St. James. In the apocryphal Gospel of St. James, it is narrated that, while Mary worked in the temple weaving a curtain, an angel appeared to her and announced that she would give birth to a child. I'll sell my door. En caso embarazo sería especial al regresar de un viaje José, encontró a María embarazada de 6 meses y temiendo que lo acusaran de haberla embarazado decidió someterla a la prueba del agua amarga, an ancient Hebrew ritual described in the Book of Numbers. This ritual consisted in a suspicious woman of infidelity drinking a bitter potion prepared by a priest. If it did not have adverse effects, it was considered a proof of her fidelity. According to the apocryphal account, Mary passed the test without problems, which showed her chastity. This link convinced Joseph and the priests of the temple that Mary's pregnancy was of divine origin, renewing Joseph's faith in his mission to protect Mary and the future child, Jesus. Number 19. The story of Joseph the Carpenter. The story of Joseph the Carpenter is an apocryphal text that compiles various traditions about the life of Joseph, Mary, and Jesus. The story of Joseph the Carpenter is an apocryphal text that compiles various traditions about the life of Joseph, Mary, and Jesus. Probably written in Byzantine Egypt at the end of the 6th century or beginning of the 7th. The original text was in Greek, although its complete content has been preserved in translations to Coptic and Arabic. This account describes the first years of Jesus, as well as the belief in the perpetual virginity of Mary. In addition, it states that Joseph, before his marriage to Mary, had 6 biological children: Justo, Simon, Judas, Santiago, Asia, and Lydia in a previous union. Number 20. The story of Jose el Carpintero mentions his excellent health. This apocryphal text also highlights Jose's good health, mentioning that he was blessed with physical and mental strength. According to the story of Jose el Carpintero, Justo and Simon, they married and had offspring, like their daughters Asia and Lydia. The narration offers a detailed vision of his death, in which the archangels Michael and Gabriel appear to him, along with the angel of death. At the end, Jesus reaffirms the purity of Mary, referring to her as my Virgin Mother without stain, which highlights the holiness of the Holy Family in this text. Number 21, the Bible does not detail the death of Joseph, but his last mention in the scriptures occurs when Jesus is 12 years old and then disappears from the New Testament. Joseph is not mentioned in the weddings of Cana, an event in which Jesus, Mary, and the disciples are found, which suggests that he had already died. In addition, when he dies on the cross, Jesus entrusts to John the care of his mother, something that would not have been necessary if Jose was alive. Despite his essential role, the scriptures keep silent about his death. A Christian tradition maintains that Joseph died surrounded by Mary and Jesus and was buried in Nazareth, where the Holy Family was established after his return from Egypt. Number 22. Another version suggests that he died after the episode in which he is mentioned for the last time in the Bible. The last direct reference to Joseph in the New Testament occurs when, together with Mary, they find Jesus in the temple, arguing with the doctors of the law. This episode, told in Luke 2:48-49, describes the astonishment of Mary, who says to him, "Son, why have you treated us like this? Your father and I have searched for you with anguish," Jesus replies. "Why were you looking for me?" Jesus replies, "You did not know that he had to be in my Father's house." After this event, Jose is not mentioned again in the scriptures, and a theory suggests that he may have died at some point after this episode, although an exact date is not specified. Number 23, a theory proposes that he died defending his family. In the apocryphal text, the story of Joseph the carpenter, it is mentioned that Joseph died at the age of 111 after the archangels Michael and Gabriel, together with the angel of death, appeared on his bed. In his last words, Jose would express a deep regret for his human errors. Another theory suggests that Jose could have died while defending his family during the flight to Egypt, escaping the killing of the innocents ordered by King Herod to eliminate the newborn king of the Jews. In this version, it is believed that Joseph would have given his life to protect Mary and the child Jesus from the soldiers of Herod. The formal veneration of Saint Joseph dates back to the year 800, with early references to him as educator and guardian of the Lord, which were maintained in the 9th and 10th centuries. In the 11th century, Thomas Aquinas argued about the importance of the figure of Joseph, affirming that, if she had not been married, Mary could have been stoned according to Jewish law. In addition, Aquinas underlined that Jesus needed the presence of a loving and protective father. In 1889, Pope Leo XIII issued the encyclical Quam Pluribus, exhorting Catholics to pray and worship Saint Joseph as patron of the Church. In 1962, Pope John XXIII included his name in the canon of the Mass, and in 2013, Pope Francis added his mention in all the prayers of the Eucharist, strengthening his devotion to the Catholic Church. Number 25. The Day of Saint Joseph. The festivity of Saint Joseph in the Western Church is celebrated on March 19th, a tradition that dates back to the 10th century and is observed by Catholics, Anglicans, and Christians, Lutherans, and other Christian denominations. In Eastern Christianity, Saint Joseph has several dates of celebration, including December 26th, the first Sunday after Christmas, and also March 19th. For the Catholic Church, the 19th of March is a day of maximum solemnity in the Tridentine liturgical calendar, which is moved to another date if it coincides with a Sunday or Holy Week. In several Catholic countries, St. Joseph's Day is celebrated as a holiday. It's a little bit of the host. In honor of Saint Joseph. Number 26. Why is Saint Joseph's Day celebrated? For Catholicism and other Christian denominations, Saint Joseph occupies a place of honor as part of the Holy Family along with Mary and Jesus. In his apostolic exhortation, Custodio del Redentor, Pope John Paul II reaffirmed the importance of this celebration by quoting Pope Leo XIII. "Thank you." He said the following: "Jose is the one God chose to be the guardian of the birth of the Lord, the one who has the responsibility to take care of the ordained entry of the Son of God into the world, according to the divine dispositions and the human laws. Number 27 is the patron of the happy death. In 1870, Pope Pius IX declared Saint Joseph as the patron of the Universal Church. BF Watch TV 2021. Since tradition holds that he died in the arms of Mary and Jesus, he is considered a symbol of a happy death. Saint Joseph is also the patron of the parents, the carpenters, pregnant women, children in gestation, travelers, immigrants, lawyers, and those who seek a safe home. Number 28. The process of conquest of America spurred his devotion. During the colonization of America in the last quarter of the 16th century, the Catholic Church promoted the figure of Saint Joseph as a symbol of the spiritual conquest of the New World. He was proclaimed a holy protector of missionary work, and his image spread widely. In much of Latin America, especially in territories such as New Spain, New Granada, Venezuela, Argentina, and Chile, Joseph was presented as a model father and husband. His representations with the child Jesus consolidated in the following centuries his role as protector of the family and paternity. Number 29. The term father for the priests originates in Saint Joseph. Number 30. In the territories colonized by Spain, the images of Saint Joseph with the child Jesus sought to foster devotion to paternity. In regions such as the Kingdom of New Granada, the images of Saint Joseph with Jesus proliferated as much or more than those of Mary with the child. The relationship of father and son represented in these works promoted a paternal model of spirituality and care. The term cura, used in the Middle Ages for priests, was replaced in the Baroque by padre, an appellative that, in tune with the figure of Saint Joseph, emphasized the protective and spiritual role of the priest. Number 30. The Oratorio of Saint Joseph of Montreal is the largest church in Canada. Located in Montreal, Quebec, the Oratorio of Saint Joseph is a minor basilica, and a national sanctuary, being the largest church in Canada. With a dome of 97 m exterior in height and a diameter of 39 m, construction began in 1904, under the direction of André Besset de Montreal. And it is one of the few buildings that exceeds the height regulation in Montreal, which stipulates that no building should be taller than the Mont Royal. Number 31 gave rise to Josephology. Josephology, the theological study of the figure of Joseph, emerged with the rise of Mariology. Although formally it is a recent discipline, it is inspired by the work of Saint Jerome and the reflections of the Benedictine monks of the 11th century. In the 13th century, Thomas Aquinas defended the importance of the marriage of Mary to Joseph, arguing that it protected Mary from a possible stoning and provided Jesus with the guidance and love of a father. In modern times, during the 1950s, 3 centers of Josephology were founded. One in Valladolid, Spain, another in Montreal, Canada, and a third in Viterbo, Italy. We hope this video has been helpful. If you have any comments or want to contribute something, share it with us in the comments section.